Okay, buckle up, because today we're really diving into something that feels like, I don't know, every romantic comedy ever made, but with a whole lot more baggage. We're talking about friends with benefits, that whole no strings attached thing.
Right. Which, let's be honest, usually ends up with someone giving that whole "we were on a break" speech, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's everywhere, though, isn't it?
Right,
It's like, we know it probably won't end well,
right.
but why do we keep going back to that?
I think the article you shared actually hits the nail on the head when it says it's just easier. Like, who has time for actual dating in our crazy busy world when you could just fast forward to the fun part with someone you already, plus that initial attraction can be intoxicating.
Totally. And you already know the person, so it's not like a weird first date or anything. I mean, the article even talks about how exploration is a big motivator. Like, it's a way to explore your own, sexuality and stuff without having to worry about a relationship.
Like a free pass, kind of.
Yeah, right. But here's the thing. It's deeper than just, logistics, right? Because this idea that you can have your needs met without all the, the burden, I guess. The burden of a relationship.
Oh, for sure.
That really gets at something deeply human, this need for connection,
Okay, so we're hardwired to want connection, but then we're also terrified of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's messy. Speaking of messy, the article does not hold back on the downsides. The biggest one, the one that everyone always talks about.
Oh, here we go.
Feelings. Feelings always seem to creep in, like that friend who comes over for the weekend and never leaves.
Right. You think you have it all under control, and then, bam!
Yeah.
Feelings are at your door like a pizza delivery guy. You weren't expecting it, but now you kind of have to deal with it. I think this is where that fantasy of friends with benefits crashes headfirst into reality.
Yeah.
Because our brains are wired for that, for attachment. So you might be telling yourself, oh yeah, casual, no problem. But your brain might be thinking relationship.
So we're fighting our own biology here. That's not fair.
Right.
And even if you can keep it casual, what if the other person can't? What if they start catching feelings? The article actually mentioned that.
Of course.
That one person is feeling it and the other person's like, on Tinder. Awkward.
So awkward. And then it's like every hangout has this weird tension because you're both thinking about it but not saying it.
Oh, 100%.
And we haven't even talked about jealousy yet.
Oh, right.
Like, you might think you're totally fine, but then you see them with someone else and it's like, oh, where did that possessiveness come from?
It's that whole you don't know what you've got till it's gone thing. Suddenly they're out having fun without you and it's like, wait a minute.
And that's the whole paradox of this, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to have this thing that's outside of the rules of a relationship, but you still get all the messy emotions, and then you can't even really talk about them openly, which I think leads us perfectly into the minefield of boundaries.
Boundaries, right. The article makes it sound like, I don't know, trying to navigate through a maze blindfolded with these FWB things. Like, you're already friends, so there's that whole dynamic.
Right, and then you add the physical part too.
Exactly, and it's like, where does the friend zone even end and something real starts?
It gets messy fast.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
Think about it. Weekends away, texting all day long.
Right.
This couple stuff.
Totally, so then you're just accidentally on a date, but not really. My brain hurts.
It's a lot. And the article talks about communication, right? Which is funny because...
Who actually does this?
Exactly. Everyone avoids those conversations.
It's true. But why is it so hard to just, talk about it when you're already friends with someone?
I think there's this fear that if you actually say it out loud, you'll, jinx it. If you admit you want something more, you automatically lose the game.
So we're all just supposed to pretend we're not thinking about it.
Pretty much.
Even though we are.
And the article even says that putting it off just makes it worse. Eventually something's got to give.
It's going to explode.
Basically. So all that to say, we've got the feelings, the boundaries, the lack of communication. Is there any hope for this friends with benefits thing?
Well, the article doesn't exactly give us a step-by-step guide or anything.
Right.
But it does say it's not totally impossible.
Okay, so maybe not totally doomed.
But it takes work and honesty and really knowing yourself, I think.
So it's not completely impossible,
right?
But it's also not something to just jump into without thinking.
Yeah, I think the article really stresses that if you want to try and make this work, communication is key. Really, really important. And it's not just about what you want out of it, but also...
what you don't want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like to think of it kind of like, a relationship prenup.
Yeah.
But for,
For benefits.
for benefits.
So before you even think about anything physical, you're sitting down having a serious conversation. Yeah. Feelings, expectations, deal breakers, the whole 9 yards.
That takes the fun out of it, doesn't it? Like, where's the spontaneity?
Well, remember, we're trying to outsmart our own brains here.
Okay, right.
You wouldn't sign a lease without reading it first, right? This is kind of like that.
Okay, that's fair. You've got a point. But even if you do all that, even if you have that conversation and you think everything's good, the article still says emotional detachment is really important.
Yeah, and let's be real, that's way easier said than done.
Especially with someone you're already friends with.
It's like trying to, I don't know, it's like trying to separate the chocolate chips from the cookie dough.
You just can't.
You can't. That's why the article talks about accepting that this is temporary. You go into it knowing it's probably not going to last forever.
So no fairy tale ending.
Probably not. More like a fun, I don't know, detour.
A detour, okay. But, we should probably talk about the good stuff, too.
Oh, yeah. The benefits of benefits.
But article mentions a few, right?
He does.
So, okay, besides the obvious, we've got convenience, familiarity.
Right.
And hopefully no drama.
Well, that's the goal, at least.
Right. But then on the flip side, you were saying, what? Jealousy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And just general awkwardness, miscommunication.
And you could ruin the friendship, obviously.
Exactly. You really could. It's a lot to risk.
So I guess what we're saying is there's no magic formula.
I think that's the biggest takeaway, honestly.
Okay.
It really depends on you.
Yeah.
How much are you willing to risk? How good are you at compartmentalizing?
Right. Because if you're going to be freaking out every time they go on a date.
It's probably not a good idea.
Right. Exactly.
Honesty with yourself is super important here.
This has been eye-opening, to say the least. We've really gotten into the nitty-gritty of Friends with Benefits today, haven't we?
We have.
A lot to think about.
Absolutely. And like we said, there's no right answer, really. What works for one person might not work for someone else.
Exactly. So to everyone listening, thinking about giving it a try, proceed with caution.
100%.
Communicate. And maybe, I don't know, have a backup plan.
Never hurts.
Just in case. Until next time.